Geoffrey Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer was the preeminent English poet, and he remains in the top tier of the English canon. He also was the most significant poet to write in Middle English. Chaucer was born in the early 1340s to a fairly rich, well-to-do, though not aristocratic family. His father, John Chaucer, was a vintner and deputy to the king's butler. His family's financial success came from work in the wine and leather businesses, and they had considerable inherited property in London. Little information exists about Chaucer's education, but his writings demonstrate a close familiarity with a number of important books of his contemporaries and of earlier times, such as Boethius's The Consolation of Philosophy. Chaucer likely was fluent in several languages, including French, Italian, and Latin. Sons of wealthy London merchants could receive good educations at this time, and there is reason to believe that, if Chaucer did not attend one of the schools on Thames Street near his boyhood home, then he was at least well educated at home. Certainly his work showcases a passion for reading a huge range of literature, classical and modern. Chaucer first appears in public records in 1357 as a member of the House of Elizabeth, Countess of Ulster. This was a conventional arrangement in which sons of middle-class households were placed in royal service so that they could obtain a courtly education. 2 years later, Chaucer served in the army under Edward III and was captured during an unsuccessful offensive at Reims, although he was later ransomed. Chaucer served under a number of diplomatic missions. By 1366 Chaucer had married Philippa Pan, daughter of the Flemish Sir Gilles de Roet, called Paon. Medieval surnames were often changed between generations, who had been in service with the Countess of Ulster. Chaucer married well for his position, for Philippa Chaucer received an annuity from the Queen Consort of Edward III. Philippa's sister Catherine de Roet, later Lady Swynford, later Duchess of Lancaster, was John of Gaunt's mistress for 20 years before becoming the Duke's wife. Through this connection, John of Gaunt was Chaucer's kinsman. Chaucer himself secured an annuity as yeoman of the king and was listed as one of the king's esquires. Chaucer's first published work was the Book of the Duchess, a poem of over 1,300 lines, supposed to be an elegy for Blanche, Duchess of Lancaster, addressed to her widower, the Duke. For this first of his important poems, which was published in 1370, Chaucer used the dream vision form, a genre made popular by the highly influential 13th-century French poem of courtly love, the Roman de la Rose, which Chaucer translated into English. Throughout the following decade, Chaucer continued with his diplomatic career, traveling to Italy for negotiations to open a Genoa port to Britain as well as military negotiations with Milan. During his missions to Italy, Chaucer encountered the work of Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio, which were later to have profound influence upon his own writing. In 1374 Chaucer was appointed Comptroller of the Customs and Subsidy of wool, skins, and tanned hides for the Port of London, his first position away from the British court. Chaucer's only major work during this period was House of Fame, a poem of around 2,000 lines in dream vision form, which ends so abruptly that some scholars consider it unfinished. According to Derek Pearsall, the one biographical fact everyone remembers about Chaucer is his brush with the law, when, in a deed of May 1, 1380, he is released from culpability in the raptus or rape of Cecily Champagne. No one knows exactly what the accusation, despite attempts to mistranslate raptus as abduction, precisely amounted to, still less whether it was rooted in truth. But it casts an ominous shadow over an otherwise pure white biography, and, rather like the presence of the pardoner and the manciple in the tales, gives a discordant dark wash to our image of Chaucer. In October 1385, Chaucer was appointed a Justice of the Peace for Kent, and in August 1386 he became Knight of the Shire for Kent. Around the time of his wife's death in 1387, Chaucer moved to Greenwich and later to Kent. Changing political circumstances eventually led to Chaucer falling out of favour with the royal court and leaving Parliament, but when Richard II became King of England, Chaucer regained royal favour. During this period Chaucer used writing primarily as an escape from public life. His works included Parlement of Foles, a poem of 699 lines. This work is a dream vision for St. Valentine's Day that makes use of the myth that each year on that day the birds gather before the goddess Nature to choose their mates. This work was heavily influenced by Boccaccio and Dante. Chaucer's next work was Troilus and Chryside, which was influenced by the Consolation of Philosophy, which Chaucer himself translated into English. Chaucer took the plot of Troilus from Boccaccio's Philostrato. This 8,000-line rhyme-royal poem recounts the love story of Troilus, son of the Trojan king Priam, and Chryside, widowed daughter of the deserter priest Calchas, against the background of the Trojan War. Compare Shakespeare's version in Troilus and Cressida. The Canterbury Tales secured Chaucer's literary reputation. It is his great literary accomplishment, a compendium of stories by pilgrims travelling to the shrine of Thomas a Becket in Canterbury. Chaucer introduces each of these pilgrims in vivid, brief sketches in the general prologue and intersperses the 24 tales with short dramatic scenes with lively exchanges. Chaucer did not complete the full plan for the tales, and surviving manuscripts leave some doubt as to the exact order of the tales that remain. However, the work is sufficiently complete to be considered a unified book rather than a collection of unfinished fragments. The Canterbury Tales is a lively mix of a variety of genres told by travelers from all aspects of society. Among the genres included are courtly romance, fabliaux, saint's biography, allegorical tale, beast fable, and medieval sermon. Information concerning Chaucer's descendants is not fully clear. It is likely that he and Philippa had 2 sons and 2 daughters. Thomas Chaucer died in 1400, he was a large landowner and political officeholder, and his daughter, Alice, became Duchess of Suffolk. Little is known about Lewis Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer's youngest son. Of Chaucer's 2 daughters, Elizabeth became a nun, while Agnes was a lady-in-waiting for the coronation of Henry IV in 1399. Public records indicate that Chaucer had no descendants living after the 15th century. Geoffrey Chaucer is often regarded as the father of English literature, and a key figure in the Middle English period. The age of Chaucer spans the 14th century, marked by significant historical, social, and cultural changes. Historical context. The 14th century witnessed the aftermath of the Black Death, causing demographic shifts and social upheavals. Political instability, including the 100 Years' War between England and France, influenced the collective psyche of the time. Chaucer's life. Geoffrey Chaucer's life was embedded in the courtly and bureaucratic circles. He served in various capacities, including a diplomat and customs official. His exposure to diverse social classes and experiences is reflected in his literary works. Literary contributions. Chaucer's most famous work, The Canterbury Tales, is a collection of stories told by pilgrims on a journey. It provides a vivid snapshot of medieval English society. Troilus and Chryside explores themes of love and chivalry, showcasing Chaucer's narrative prowess and psychological insight. He also contributed to lyric poetry, creating poignant verses that expressed the complexities of human emotions. Language and style. Chaucer played a crucial role in shaping the English language. His works contributed significantly to the evolution of Middle English, bridging the gap between Old and Modern English. His writing showcased linguistic versatility, incorporating elements from French, Latin, and Italian, reflecting the cosmopolitan nature of the age. Social critique and realism. Chaucer's writings often presented a satirical view of societal norms and institutions. His characters in The Canterbury Tales represent a cross-section of medieval society, providing social commentary. The inclusion of flawed and realistic characters challenged idealized portrayals common in medieval literature, contributing to a more nuanced understanding of human nature. Religious themes. Despite the religious orthodoxy of the time, Chaucer's works exhibited a subtle questioning of religious practices and institutions. The Pardoner's Tale and The Summoner's Tale delve into the corruption within the Church, reflecting a critical perspective. Chaucer's legacy. Chaucer's influence extended beyond his lifetime. His use of the vernacular set a precedent for future writers to explore themes in their native languages. His impact on English literature is profound, with later authors like Shakespeare drawing inspiration from his narrative techniques and characterizations. Cultural and artistic developments. The age of Chaucer saw the emergence of a vibrant literary culture, with poets and writers exploring new themes and styles. The period laid the groundwork for the Renaissance, fostering a renewed interest in classical literature and humanistic ideas. Conclusion. The age of Chaucer stands as a pivotal era in English literature, marked by the transformative works of Geoffrey Chaucer. His exploration of diverse themes, linguistic contributions, and social critique continue to resonate, making him an enduring figure in the literary canon. We may say that Chaucer's era encapsulates a dynamic period in English literature, characterized by linguistic evolution, social introspection, and the foundation of literary traditions that would shape the course of literature for centuries to come.